girl Stephanie. Welcome and welcome back to Quilting Beauty and Books, my corner on YouTube. I pray that you and your family are all doing well today and that you enjoyed today's video. As you can tell by the title, I am wrapping up the month of August. August have been a roller coaster of a month. I had some very good and we also had some very bad to happen in the month of August. My husband's birthday was in the month of August. I found my long lost brother in the month of August. We lost Chadwick Boseman in the month of August and other family members. And I'm like, I'm a Libra. So, if you think of a scale, there is balancing right now. And, let me set it out there. I don't believe in all the zodiacs. I don't go read my zodiac every week or anything like that. Now, I grew up knowing what my zodiac sign was. That's the only why I making mention of it. I am a Libra, according to the zodiac charts. And my symbol is a scale. Balance. I am a balancing person. It's like can be even, and when I'm off, So that is how this month, and that's how I am choosing to describe this month. It was a little lopsided this month. I mean, we're still fighting civil, justices. I don't understand that. I mean, we are way past. We should be way past this, but we're not. We're not. We're still fighting for quality health care. We're still fighting a pandemic, and we're losing in this pandemic, and we're not balanced. We need to get back to being okay. When the scale is like this, it's okay. It's not great. It's okay. I want to get back into being okay. All that to say, August was not balanced. It was not balanced for me. But I still did some good things. I read some great books. I still did prayer and Bible study this month. I didn't get to finish my Clean Revelation with Kim. I plan on doing that in the month of September. I started on the Book of Ecclesiastes because I did it with my daughter. I'm just looking at my calendar, glancing through, because these books are going to take a minute. I did a review book, the Life app classes and stuff like that with our church. So yeah, it was a pretty light month, like on paper. I have all my coloring and stuff on my calendar and stuff like that. That was my pencil. I just didn't want to stay put. But yeah, it looked like not a lot on paper. And that is because I did a lot for the month of July. My daughter started school in the month of August, so I wanted to keep it a little bit light. So yeah, and I achieved that. So now I want to share with you guys the books that I read. I am going to let you know that this month was the month of the audio book. Thank you, Scribd, and thank you, Audible. The first book I will share with you guys is called On This Foundation. This is book number 3 in the Restoration Chronicles by Lynn Austin. Let me see. You see that? This was the buddy read I did with my girl Nate over on Daughter of Increase, if you guys didn't know. Yes, this book was really, really good. I enjoyed reading it. If I had to put the books in order, book number 1 was my ultimate favorite out of this series, and this will be my second, followed by book number 2. Now, this book was on prophet. Was he prophet Nehemiah? Well, no, Nehemiah was a cupbearer to the king Artaxerxes, and yeah, it was very, very interesting. I do remember hearing about Nehemiah before I read this book. I thought I hadn't, but then I'm like, oh, you know what? When the story was going on, I'm like, oh, I remember Nehemiah, but I don't know a lot about him, but I can now say that I did know of him prior to me reading this book. This book starts off when it's at the point where, you know, when Esther was queen, Haman had put out an edict that all the Jews were to be extinguished, exterminated, murdered, killed, however you want to put it. They were to be murdered. And then a second edict came out saying that the Jews had the right to defend themselves. And that's the one that Mordecai had put in place. Well, this book is during that, right after that time, they were protecting themselves because, you know, they tried it. And some of them died. And at this point, when they thought all the fighting, you know, was at night, it came to an end. Well, two of the bad people were left inside their area, and they slaughtered 2 families. Well, in one of the family, they had 3 boys, and they were hiding. One of the boys was Nehemiah, and of course, the other 2 boys were his younger brothers, Ephraim and Hananiah. Honey, some of these names, I was just going with it. I was making up their names because I couldn't pronounce them. But I was, you know, trying to get it as close as possible in the pronunciation. And Mordecai, you know, raised them up, and the 2 younger brothers went to Jerusalem, and they were, you know, they were scribes, but Nehemiah stayed to be a cupbearer. So one day, one of his brothers came back to, where were they? It's back to Susa. I couldn't remember the name. They came back to Susa to let Nehemiah know, you know, they haven't seen him in God knows, you know, a very long time. And he was excited to see his brother, and they knew, you know, his position and stuff like that. And he was letting them know, you know, yeah, we're in Jerusalem, or we don't have a wall. We're like sitting ducks out here. And, you know, all that was wearing on him. He was like, dang, I got family over in this country. I secured all this here for the king, making him safe, and my family is living like, you know, they can be murdered at any time. And it just wore on him. And then one day he was before the king. You had to be jovial going before the king. You can't be sad. You can't be looking like, woe is me. Well, he just couldn't hide what he was going through emotionally. And the king was like, what's going on with you? And he happened to tell him, you know, over in Jerusalem, they ain't got no wall. You know, my family's sitting over there. You know, it could be killed at any time. You know, it's just, you know, I got all this going on in my head, you know. And the king was like, well, what do you want me to do? And he asked, you know, God gave him the unction to ask the king, can I please go and help rebuild this wall? And the king said, yes. See, this was all God. This was all God. So Nehemiah, and the king gave him provisions to do it too. Went to go home to Jerusalem. Everybody was happy. But wait a minute now. When not only did he just was able to go home, he went home with a title governor. Okay? So you know the other people around there that weren't going to like that. And there was some there who wasn't going to like it either. Well, he went to build the wall. And of course, he had some naysayers. Then he had those who wanted to stop him at it with whatever cost it was going to take, and they had a lot of setbacks, but Nehemiah was determined to build the wall and return to King Artaxerxes as he promised. And this book was simply the journey of him doing so. It was really, really good. Lynn Austin did a great job with all three of her books that we read. I look forward to reading more from Lynn. This series, I wholeheartedly recommend you guys go and pick it up and read. Another book I read was by Misu Andrews, and it was called Of Fire and Lions. Oh my gosh! This book was so good. I'm sorry, I didn't even tell you guys. This month I dedicated, all these books were all parts of a series that I had to, I'm trying to finish up, or, get to where I can finish up these books. So this is part of like the Isaiah's Daughter. This is book number 2 after Isaiah's Daughter. And then there's Isaiah's Legacy, I believe, is next. But this book was good. Oh my gracious. It is about none other than Daniel. And they also had Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in here. I was about to call him a Billy Goat. But yeah, so good. The main characters. In this book, guys, I did a lot. I don't know if you can see it. I did a lot of annotating because this book was really good. I did annotate in Isaiah's Daughter, so since this was part of a series, I wanted to finish annotating. So it was about a little girl. Her name was Abigail. She was sold pretty much into slavery, or stolen into slavery, stolen and became a slave. And when she became a slave to 3 princes. Well, I should say princes. and that was Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They had, well, those were their names after they got changed. And Daniel's name was Belteshazzar, something like that. Belteshazzar, there it is. His name was changed over to that. And the girl, Abigail, was there. She was there to take care of them. And then when they got to their destination, they were separated, and she went to the temple. And by her being at the temple, there are things there she saw. There are things she had to do, was about to do, and God stepped in on time, got her from that situation, and she again became up under Daniel's protection. At this time, they were, starting to like each other, and was wanting to marry. Now, these are children, y'all. 10, 11 years old, 12 years old, talking about marriage. I can't see that today. But they were talking about marriage, and when the king got hold of Daniel wanting to marry a servant, he wasn't having that, and had Abigail put out. And Daniel was like, I don't understand what was going on and all that kind of stuff. And what happened was she became a temple prostitute and had a child, and life happened. She was about to marry and all that kind of stuff. Daniel was married and all this. It was just such a good book. It was such a good book. I'm gonna advise you guys to read it, but make sure you read book number 1 so you at least know something a little bit about the going on into book number 2. Really, really enjoyed it. And it was just about life. And Abigail, her new name was called Belili after she became a temple prostitute. Her she didn't tell her family nothing. Now, her and Daniel did end up getting back married and all that kind of stuff. But I'm skipping a whole bunch, so please don't know that I'm not spoiling it for you at all. They did get married, and there was a rift in her family, and she didn't know what to do. And you know, it was just about living through all of that, holding your tongue, letting your children talk to you any kind of way, because honey, it would not happen over here at 399. Okay. So yeah, it was Abigail's story of how her faith, how her life after having God and then having to serve as, you know, a temporal prostitute. You know, where was God? You know, those feelings. Why didn't he save me? Why he keeps saving everybody else? I'm calling out to him. Why isn't he saving me? You know, those kind of questions were brought up a lot in this book, and I felt Abigail's pain, or Lily's pain, and then having to have the faith to endure when her husband was, you know, he wasn't bowing down to nothing, okay? And he let it be known. And of course, being thrown into the lion's den. You guys know that part of the story because it's in the Bible. And yeah, you know, just the story of faith, and then shaking faith, and then just, you know what, ain't nobody gonna mess with my faith that strong, you know, that strong faith again. So it was a journey. Boy, it was a roller coaster, and I was up in it. I could barely put this book down. It was just really, really, really good. I know I was all over the place on that one. I'm sorry. Next is the Book of Esther, and this is by Angela Hunt, and this is in the Dangerous Beauty series. Now, you already know Delilah that was my book. This one didn't speak to me like Delilah did at all. It stuck true to the chapter in the Bible, Esther. And nothing pops out for me to remember. I don't even think I did any, and yeah. I did annotate some in this book, but it was nothing that stuck out to me other than Queen Vashti. That woman was ruthless. She was nasty. That is the only thing that stuck out to me that made, I'm sorry, it's getting stuck to my shirt. It don't want to come off of me. That was the only thing that really stuck out to me. It was just how nasty she was. She was so mean. Oh my gosh. When she said no to the king, she wasn't coming to him because she wasn't coming around in a whole bunch of drunk men and being paraded around like a piece of meat. She meant that thing, okay? And she hated everybody else who attempted to come after her, including Esther. And she was just petty. Now, that made the book to me. Other than that, like I said, it will stay true to the Bible. But Queen Vashti, if you want to read something because it's petty, I advise you to pick it up. But I can't 100% recommend it because it was just an okay book. The next book I finished this series by Morgan Bussey, and it's Cry of the Raven, and it is book number 4 in the it's book number 3 in the in the Ravenwood saga. Really good. If you need a good sci-fi Christian fiction book, this series is it. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. You had Damon, which is what is his child name? Celine. I'm sorry. I had too many books to read. Lady Celine and Damon are a married couple. They got married a couple books back. And let me tell you, Her mama was still a hot mess. Her father was awesome. Damon had to go through a lot in this book. It's just like with your faith, you know, you come into the faith, you have all these expectations of the faith, and then all of a sudden something happens in your life, and all of a sudden you don't know about your faith, you know. So things happened with his powers. He had the power to move water, build water, you know, for protection. All of a sudden his powers, he was, you know, frightened to use. He couldn't get the walls to stay up, and then all of a sudden he just couldn't do it. And it was because something deep was setting deep within him, and he had to figure all this out along with Lady Celine. Oh my gosh, it was really, really good trying to figure out what was at the root of the problem. And that's what we always have to do when it comes to problems, getting to the root of the problem so we can weed it out, honey. We need to weed out these problems so we can draw closer to Christ. And in that book, Christ, you know, was the light. And it was just amazing how the houses, you know, were trying to come together, and then they did come together. And it was just a good book. I highly recommend that series. The next book is Shadow of the Storm, and this is book number 2 from the Out of Egypt series. And this book is by Connelly Cassette. If you don't know, now you know. You need to pick up this series. I'm only in book number 2. You need to pick up this series. Now, I did enjoy Counted with the Stars, which was book number 1 in the series, more than this one. But this one was really, really, really good. Again, in book number 1, Shira was a slave along with Kira. Kira was the main character in Counted with the Stars. Shira is a weaver by trade. That's what her mom did. That's what her grandma did and all that kind of stuff. But she didn't want to become one. Kyra was better at doing weaving than she was. She got it in her mind she wanted to become a midwife. And she went and did some training with Reva, who was a midwife, and absolutely fell in love with her. Her mama was against it. She didn't want her, didn't want nothing to do with her, to have nothing to do with that, because that's not their family trade. Well, some things happened, and Devora came into the picture. Now, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, there always got to be a villain. She is Cruella de Vil, if you just need to really know. She was mean. As a dang on rattlesnake mean, okay? And, yeah, it was so good. I really can't tell you much more, because I would have to tell you some bits and pieces that I do not want to divulge to you guys. But just know that Devora was mean throughout the whole entire book. That's all I'm going to say about her. Shira was a young girl who just, you know what, things happened to her in her past. She had been living with her brother and her mother, you know, and all that kind of stuff. Like I said, she did not want to become a weaver. She was no good at it. She wanted to be a midwife. She started going against her mother's wishes and became a midwife. She found herself really good at it until one day, you know, her and Devora was delivering a baby without their teacher, who her name was Reva, and the woman ended up dying. And when she found out who the woman's husband was, yeah, some things happened there too. And yeah, and it was just life, and it was just about a young girl trying to choose what she's going to be and having to fight for what she wants in life. And this book was just really, really good at Connellan was really, really good at showing how Shira had to make that decision for herself. And the last book is by Laura Gallier, and it's called The Deception. This is book number 2 in the Delusion series. If I told y'all book number 1 was good, book number 2 was just as good. I was like, okay, I'm not gonna like this book. Cause I just know I love book number 2. Now, I'm not going to tell you much about this book. What I am going to tell you is book number 1 focused on, I'm going to put it in a paraphrase it. It's about a young boy. His name is Owen. Owen is the main character in this book too. In book number 1, I'm just going to say that is when he found out about, you know, they have a light under them. The good people had light, the bad people had chains. The unsaved had chains. The saved had these lights. He wanted that light. He found Christ. This book is about when we're new to Christ and you still have one foot in the world. You have one foot in Christ. And you're like, well, why do I got to do all that to be saved? You know what I mean? I know I'm not the only one who had those questions and thoughts. Why do I got to do this? Why I got to change this? Why I got to change that? That is what this book is about, guys. It's his faith being tested. He's being tested on how to follow Christ. Oh my God, this book was amazing. Laura is I'm gonna tell you, she is a phenomenal writer. Book number 3, I think it's called The Defiance or Defiant. I can't wait to get that book. I think it comes out in October. Very good. I'm looking forward to it. But yes, Owen, I can tell you a little bit. Owen, I tried not to. Owen is finding himself, you know, he got this light and, you know, there are things that he can do. It's a restriction. There's a limits that you have to walk in. In Christ, you cannot do and say anything and think he should accept it just because who he is. He's full of grace and full of mercy. He should accept me for who I am. No, it don't work that way. It doesn't work that way. And Owen is having to figure this out. Oh my gosh. And then how Satan deceives. Oh, it was so good. I'm telling you, you will enjoy this series. Out of all of them, that is my number 1 series from the ones that are read for the month. So I'm telling you guys, I thoroughly enjoyed that series, and you would too. That's all the books that I read for the month of August. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or want me to go, you know, talk to you a little bit more about the books and see, you know, if it have this so you know that, to see if you'll be comfortable reading these books, let me know. I will do my best to give you my opinions. Go ahead and like and share this video. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. What are you waiting on? And while you're at it, click that bell so you'll be notified of my next upload, guys. Go ahead and follow me over on Instagram and Goodreads, both of the handle Quilting, Beauty, and Books. Until the next video, guys, be blessed. Bye.